It's a fantastic Monday morning. Welcome to the Morning Crossfire. This is 99.3 Nigeria Info, and it's time to look at these stories across the dailies today. You can join us on Facebook and also on YouTube at Nigeria Info FM. Just search for Nigeria Info 99.3. You'll find us live there, streaming, and you can leave us your comments and thoughts on the headlines that you find interesting this morning. If you also want to join us via Twitter, the handle is at Nigeria Info FM. Let's know what you think of the headlines as we bring them to you. You're welcome to the show again. I am Wemimo Adewuni.
I am Sheriff Quadry. The sun is on the table this morning on the program. Daily Trust is here, as well as Daily Independent newspaper.
And I've got here The Guardian, The Nation, and The Vanguard newspaper. Banner headline here on The Guardian, newspaper and media partner: Aviation faces plunge as Airpeace boss battles fraud charges. Why international deals may go awry, says by a financial expert here. Expert blame sector's woes on poor oversight. Well, you might wonder how the Airpeace boss fraud charges might affect the whole of aviation. We'll read a bit of that story just in a moment. The story is also here on The Nation newspaper. $44.9 million wire deals, probe of links with amnesty cash begins. This is coming in from The Nation. And if you also check here, the Vanguard newspaper, Onyema's indictment, America goes after lawbreakers. Says Buhari's aide. I saw that tweet over the weekend. And this is from the Vanguard newspaper.
That's a very big story, as a matter of fact. It shook the entire country over the weekend. And just this morning, I read somewhere that the American government has issued an arrest warrant on Onyema.
Alan Onyema.
But
let me read.
What
I'm
we
worrying.
don't know is whether an extradition has been requested by the U.S. government yet.
He insists that he's innocent, and of course, even the charge by the U.S. Explains that he's innocent. It will be left to the U.S. to prove that he's truly guilty. But if you read a bit of that story from The Guardian, hard times could hit the local air travel sector following fraud and money laundering allegations against Airpeace Airlines boss. Although the industry is not new to such allegations, this is a gravest accusation against the major airline that has over 50% dominant share of the local market and its operations. The fresh claims, which came to the fore at the weekend, have sent shivers down the spines of stakeholders who have begun pondering the fate that awaits the airline and other implications for local, regional, and international travels in the country. Rotimi Sankore joins us. Rotimi, good morning.
Morning.
This is a charge against Onyema. How does it affect the whole of aviation and even Airpeace? Isn't this a personal, fraud charge? The airline has a board of directors. The whole airline was not indicted. It was just...
It shouldn't affect the operations of the airline at this time, regardless of what happens. I want to assume it's a well-structured business. But beyond that, I think it's important that we have a sense of proportion on this matter. U.S. legal language is different from Nigerian legal language, which comes from the UK. In the U.S., when they say indictment, it just means that the Justice Department thinks they have a case against you. The case has to be argued and proved in court. It's like in the US, when they say a president has been impeached, the person is still in office. Remember, Bill Clinton was impeached and did second term. If Trump is impeached in the next few months, but he is not removed by the Senate, if he will contest for second term and wins, he will return.
He will return.
So it's a bit disturbing, this trial by media. The Justice Department is not infallible. They will make a case. If the case can't be proved, he will be found innocent.
They even made it clear in the charge. For those, the problem I think is that many Nigerians don't read the full charges. They wrote a full paragraph where they
it's
said
not
this
even
is just.
that. It's also that people misunderstand what indictment means.
Well, maybe because they didn't read the full charge. People just
understanding of
most
language
of it,
is
I'm
also
not
crucial.
sure. No, I'm not sure it was about the language.
People
because
have read the
Twitter,
full charge and they don't understand that indictment just means someone is going to be charged.
If anybody had read the full charge, with the arguments I saw on Twitter, everyone just went, oh, it was Invictus, and then it was Momfa, and now it's Oyama.
But it's for the same reason that people don't understand what impeachment means. A lot of people have read everything about Trump, but they still think that if he's impeached, he will be removed from office. So it's that understanding that needs to be clear, whether people read the full charge or not. Indictment just means there are allegations. The Justice Department
will need to prove.
Wants to see him in court, and the court, the jury system, whatever, everything has to go through a very long process before he's found guilty or innocent. So from now on, I don't really think they talk about how it will affect the aviation industry.
So this headline worries me. This headline on The Guardian says aviation faces plunge. This looks a bit too maybe dramatic for the issue on ground.
Well, again, also because people don't understand what this means. This case could be in court for the next 5 years. It could be there for 10 years.
Well, so
it's a legal financial thing. You have to prove that somebody was fraudulent in transfer.
Yeah, and the documents used.
Did somebody say the money was stolen? What was fraudulent about the transfer? Is it that a group of companies aggregated to buy airplanes?
There's now a link.
What companies are those?
There's now a link and a probe. This is a report from The Nation. A probe of Presidential Amnesty Office involvement. Now, people have started linking the amnesty NDC issue.
Matter.
No, it's not a different
matter.
matter.
If the Nigerian government charges him for that one, that's a different matter.
Let me read this from The Nation. A probe of a Presidential Amnesty Office involvement in the $44.9 million wire deal linked to Air Peace Chair Alan Oyama in the U.S. has opened. It was learned over the weekend. Following the bursting of alleged deals, a former top officer of the amnesty program has sneaked out of the U.S. to evade arrest. The U.S. government on Saturday released indictment charges. Okay, I'm trying to see who's raising this amnesty charge. Let me see page 7 of the paper if we have it. Okay, no.
We should remember a newspaper report is not an official charge.
Oh, no,
so if somebody says that a probe has been raised, a probe can find people innocent. See, Nigeria is full of cases where judges, prominent people, were arrested in the middle of the night, were told that, they own this, they own that, they've done this, they've done that, and less than 10 or 15% of those people are convicted. Some, you could argue that the case looks one kind, that, maybe because the cross party, they've been forgiven. Some, no case was actually made against them, and things were just exaggerated, or the evidence was not strong enough. So any newspaper report talking about amnesty, let's wait if the government itself raises anything and then puts its own case in the Nigerian court. That would be
a separate issue entirely. It looks like The Nation went back to look at some investigations EFCC had done over the years on amnesty and so on, but the government hasn't said anything yet. So there you have it. Indeed.
Let's move on to our next story on the program this morning. Hate speech bill, death penalty will be amended. Senator Abdullahi. From the front page of Daily Trust newspaper. Looking at Daily Independent this morning, hate speech death penalty will be amended, says sponsor of bill. That's on the front page of the Daily Independent newspaper.
I needed to cough. So it's here also on the Nation newspaper. Death penalty to be expunged from hate speech bill. This is on the Nation newspaper. The story also is reported by the Vanguard. Hate speech commission bill sponsor says death penalty will be amended to respect Nigerians' wishes. But is this the wish of Nigerians? If you check page 8, it looks like there's a protest starting today, by the way.
Well,
at least with what social media buzz over the weekend.
I think there will be series of protests. We have a lot of clowns in that National Assembly. Look, if somebody moves a bill there for complete seizure of all property that have been amassed through corrupt means, almost all of them are going to vote against it. Just seizure of the property amassed through corrupt means. You will see all of them.
Not even for you to return all the money you stole.
They will be foaming in the mouth. That guy is not serious. Social media. How do they control? Look, first of all that is going to happen even if they manage to push this through is that they will do selective scapegoating of people. The idea that they can actually control the social media is a farce. None of those technology companies is based in Nigeria. And if they are looking at places like China, good luck. China has alternatives, local technology alternatives. So it's not just that China has the technical capacity to do firewall, for instance, or to block, which is not even complete because there are many ways people can bypass those walls. But more importantly, there are local alternatives that exist. So, the so-called, blockage has minimal effect in terms of everyday
overall
use.
Right.
In Nigeria, there is no local alternative. So the impact is going to be greater on businesses, on sharing information and so forth. The problem with these characters is that having failed to deliver on their own social contract, which is to improve the standard of living of people, they are now reaching into their back pockets for tools to say, in fact, you cannot complain that they have not performed.
Well, one of the senators in an interview, in a video, short clip that went viral over the weekend, said the reason I think is the one who actually pushed for the bill, said he pushed for the bill. He cited an example of the social media trend a while ago that people were saying the president wanted to get married. That's bad.
Really?
And
a
rumor, joke,
about
social media
somebody's
joke.
personal.
Which the presidency could come out and say, no, he's not getting married. It was pretty much a joke. In fact, people printed IVs on his behalf. Right. It was a joke. People set the date and time, menu. It was just a joke. But hey.
That's one part of it. Another part of it is the other pronouncement by a particular social cultural group in the north that gave ultimatum to another group.
But that's not a social media bill matter.
But we're talking about hate speech.
Hate speech.
Yeah, we're talking about hate speech. Is that not hate speech?
It is, because the whole point of hate speech legislation globally, if you go to countries where it is well explained, hate speech is speech that is intended to harm or mobilize harm against a well-defined group or section of society. So it could be religious, it could be ethnic, or otherwise. So in that case, those fellows that called a press conference, well-known people in a well-known location.
None of them were arrested or charged.
Group. Yes. There are even laws under which they could have been arrested
currently,
already,
right.
And they were not arrested. How does the hate speech bill then ensure that they will be arrested? The problem we have really is the uneven-handed application of law in Nigeria. Most people know that if you are big and influential and you commit a well-defined crime, the chances that you pay for it is, much, much slimmer than an ordinary person. Fela has explained this thing over and over and over again. If you pickpocket in Oshodi, you are a gunner. If you sign away, if you're a minister and you sign away 50% of your budget, say, for instance, in a critical area like water, health, or so forth, and it results in loss of life on a mass scale, there will be a panel to look into the thing, after which you are likely going to get away with it.
Well,
shouldn't we be looking at strengthening the already existing laws rather than creating
implementing? Papa, you are talking of strengthening.
Because the laws are there.
Just implement what we have.
Right. The laws are there already. Well, if you go on Twitter, I think the hashtag I saw trending this morning was an Occupy Nigeria 2. Looks like there's a mass mobilization.
Some people will be telling
protest.
you that despite the terrible road, and some of the portals are like gully. If you enter, you may not come out.
They are gullies.
Then you bypass it to go on the other side and then to go around it. They will tell you you can't go past one way. The same people will come out with siren and force everybody.
And I experienced that twice over the weekend.
Ditch, and they will be driving against traffic.
In fact, I was so red in the face. If I was fair, I would be red in the face over the weekend.
And everything they are driving, by the way, is not their personal car.
No, it's not. When I saw VIO in Lagos saying that they are coming out in full force to arrest people, I said, to arrest people for vehicle roadworthiness.
Honestly, you know, the sense of responsibility we have. Not to incite anybody. VIO.
I tell you, and they're coming to check for how roadworthy your car is. You know how many times I have had to fix my cars because of.
I can't even laugh.
Who made the cars?
And I told them you should be paying me for damaging my car.
As everybody has said, the road is not car worthy.
It is not car worthy.
If the road is not car worthy, you cannot indict anybody for their car not being road worthy.
I'm even having the feeling that anybody can take the government to court.
I wish I could. I would have.
VIO. Look, let me just caution them that.
Angry.
Let me just caution the VIO people that in the interest of peace and safety, that is not.
Not at all.
It's not a job to embark on in these difficult times.
Not at all. Not at all. But they said they're coming out with full force and we'll see them all over the road in Lagos. So watch out for them.
Indeed. Let's look at this headline, right? It's from Daily Trust. It's quite interesting. Padding scandal rocks electricity agency over software. Rent is on the front page of Daily Trust, and they have this very, very interesting infographic here. Nigerian bulk electricity company Embed has roughly 47 employees. They budgeted more than 2 billion naira for software and application, and the infographic actually it breaks it down from 2017, 2018. How much has been budgeted till 2020? Capital projects, according to this infographics, Embed got 3.7 billion naira for capital project in 2017 and 22.7 billion naira in 2018 proposed budget, with zero allocation for personnel expenditure. And it goes on to put there that the office complex was 1.2 billion naira was paid for as rent for the office complex. IT installation, rent, furniture, equipment, partitioning, everything, 1.2 billion naira. And it breaks it further down from 2017, 2018, and 2019. And for R&D, for Embed, they spent 1 billion naira.
The R&D may be justified if we can see the outputs. But the rest of it, I mean, don't forget, we are in a country where a prominent official built websites with the amount of money you can use to build house.
Well, IT, no, but seriously speaking, IT experts have said that it could be worth it. It depends on what you're putting on the website.
Look, there are websites and there are websites.
Exactly.
So, and everything is scalable. If you look at websites like Amazon, Alibaba, like that, where transactions, I mean, look at the Alibaba website, for instance. On the singles day, that big sale that they do, that website handled about $35 billion worth of transactions.
It doesn't hang. It doesn't crash.
$35 billion
in sales.
Sales. Now, that kind of website, everything on it, the size, the back end, everything there it has to stand up. Now, I don't know how much would have been spent
and it's continually
from
spent.
scratch.
Right.
Yes, because they started from a start and then they scale up, to handle the traffic, to handle the transactions,
Speed.
the complexity, the speed, how you pick your items, you put it in your
Carts,
basket
yeah.
and so forth like that. Now, the first day they built it, would it have cost billions? Of course not. It's scalability. And you scale according to the need. So somebody can come and say they built websites from day one and it costs X billions.
What is the website
you
for?
ask them, yes,
Yeah.
what was happening on that website?
Yeah, that's a big question. What's happening there? Let's see this other story. Fish out killers of Kogi.
Sheriff is still
You have to look at his face. He's still turning that around. But let's move it on quickly. Fish out killers of Kogi.
Your website is still processing the information.
It needs some more speed. We need to move billions in there to move faster. Fish out killers of Kogi PDP woman leader says Buhari, we must learn to behave decently whether during elections or at all other times. No life should be taken wantonly under any disguise. That's a banner headline from the Vanguard. It's also the banner of the Nation. Buhari saying killing of Kogi PDP woman barbaric and callous. President condoles with family. Perpetrators must face the law. This story gives me the shivers all the time. And I watched an interview yesterday where a Kogi aspirant, Natasha, went to visit the family. I listened to the husband. I mean, I could barely hold myself. This woman was burnt in the house. I mean, this is just horrific.
That Kogi election is one of the worst examples ever of anything described as election. There is no sane world in which that Kogi election can hold up. There is no sane world. It can be described as free and fair. The level of violence, the way it was orchestrated, the way it was directed against certain people. Don't forget that this is a state in which at the peace rally, there was violence at the peace rally.
Right.
Peace rally. There was violence.
In the same sentence.
Yes, against other candidates, even in the presence of INEC chair and IG. I mean, the worst was that it was in the presence of police leadership. That was the worst. And I think that's the biggest indictment, that even at the peace rally, the peace could not be kept.
Even for this woman, according to reports, she was locked in the house and they watched her so she couldn't escape. So I was wondering, for all of that time, there was no rescue.
What happened to this lady is not even political. It is criminal.
It is criminal. And the neighbors did not call for help, or help did not come.
No, but people saw what was happening. People called for help and help did not come.
This is people should be answering questions. Who did they call? Why didn't they show up in time? I mean, this is just...
The police has a lot of questions.
Oh, they do. They do.
Kogi. You know, the commissioner, the DPO for that area, there are a lot of questions. Look, I'm sure when this kind of thing happens, the best of the policemen and women, when they see this kind of thing, they will know exactly what went wrong and they will be shaking their heads.
Well, before the election, Frank Mba was on TV and he said that the operations of the police in Kogi and Bayelsa will be intelligence-driven. And I'm wondering, for the crowd of that kind of political thugs to be moving across the streets of Kogi and nobody saw them.
If it was intelligence-driven, then they would know that certain people needed protection.
Exactly.
And they told us that they had mapped out the whole place. But we must go now. Today, the 16 days of activism begins. It's also the International Day to End Violence Against Women. We have a full house just after the break. We have the British Deputy High Commissioner in Lagos, Mr. Thompson, joining us on the show. We also have Quadry Fadirepo also joining us. And we'll be talking how to end violence against women. And, of course, activism and issues around women will be coming up at 8 o'clock today, just after this break. So do join us again. I'm Wemimo Adewuni.
I'm Sharif Quadry.